Bernie Sanders said something recently that really bothered me. And I don't say that lightly because I really like him as a politician. I like that he's not especially religious and that he's a liberal who makes other liberals look conservative. I voted for him in the Democratic primaries last year, and I hope he moves the party more to the left. But imagine this. You're an open atheist nominated to a high-level government position. You go in front of a Senate subcommittee for your hearing. And instead of asking you about your job qualifications or how you treat people you'll swear an oath to help, they just pick apart your atheism. They ask you if you think religious people are wrong, which you do, but who cares? I think most of us would say our beliefs are irrelevant in that situation. We can uphold the Constitution and think we're right about the whole atheism thing. They shouldn't punish you for what you think. They should criticize you if it's warranted for how you act. And yet Bernie Sanders basically said he would not vote for a nominee because he was an evangelical Christian. Let me explain what happened. A couple of years ago at Wheaton College, the evangelical school in Illinois, a professor got into a lot of trouble when she posted a picture of herself wearing a hijab in solidarity with Muslim women whom she felt were oppressed. She also said Christians and Muslims worshipped, quote, the same God. That was not okay to say, according to the administration, and I'm sure a lot of donors to that school. They suspended her and began putting together a case to fire her. And she wasn't a typical professor either. She was an African-American woman. You don't see a lot of those professors at evangelical campuses. So this wasn't just about theology. This got to the heart of how a well-known Christian school would treat a black woman who dared to push back against evangelical orthodoxy. Well, a guy named Russ Vaught graduated from Wheaton, and he felt the school was right to punish her. He wrote an article for a conservative website taking the side of the school. And he also used the opportunity to basically say evangelicals are right about God, and Muslims are wrong about God, and they are absolutely not the same God. In fact, he said Muslims have a, quote, deficient theology. It's weird wording, but I'm sure he thinks that about everyone who doesn't believe in his form of mythology. And that brings us to what's happening now. Russ Vaught was nominated by Donald Trump to be the deputy director of the White House Office of Management and Budget. That's a big deal. He was in his confirmation hearing when Bernie Sanders blasted him for what he said about Islam. Let me quote you what Sanders asked him. Do you believe that statement about Muslims having a deficient theology is Islamophobic? Do you believe that people in the Muslim religion stand condemned? What about Jews? Do they stand condemned too? Do you think that people who are not Christians are going to be condemned? Do you think that's respectful of other religions? Vaught kept giving him the same response. He didn't say yes to anything. He just said, I'm a Christian, an evangelical Christian. Which is to say, of course he believes others are condemned. And I can't believe I'm saying this because I think Vaught's ideology is harmful, but none of his personal beliefs matter here. Unless someone can show they will impact how he does his job. There are millions and millions of Christians in the US who also think Muslims will spend an eternity in hell. And they also support civil rights for Muslims. And they support church-state separation. What Sanders should have asked Vaught, the only thing that should have mattered with regards to his Christian beliefs, is whether he would treat all people equally under the law. At least as much as you can when you're working in the Office of Management and Budget. I don't even know how often religion comes up there. If Vaught said he would treat Muslims and Christians and atheists and LGBTQ people the same way, and there was no evidence to the contrary, then why does it matter what he thinks? You have to show there's a link between thought and action. That's what church-state separation is all about. You can have your beliefs. You can have horrible beliefs, untrue beliefs, but you have to obey the law when it comes to how you treat other people. Instead, Sanders never asked him about how he'd perform his job. He established that the man was Christian, and then stopped, and then said he wouldn't vote for him. I mean, conservatives had a field day with this, because this, to them, was finally a clear-cut example of Christian persecution. This guy was on the verge of not getting a job only because he's a Christian. And you know what? It's hard for me to say they're wrong. I wouldn't want a Republican senator refusing to vote for someone who's an atheist just because that person thinks religion is silly. The funny thing is, as with so many of Trump's nominees, there are probably a lot of really good reasons not to vote for this guy. But what he thinks about God isn't one of them unless you can prove to me it'll affect his work. Sanders didn't establish that. And he was wrong to dismiss the guy for merely being a Christian. I'm Hemant Mehta, and I write at friendlyatheist.com. What do you want to see a video about? Let us know in the comments below, and we'll be sure to check them out. And don't forget to subscribe.